God told me to. It might sound like spiritual guidance or wisdom, but when that phrase is used to control, pressure, or override your voice, it is a huge red flag. Hi, I'm Callie Sorensen. I have a master's in the Psychology of Coercive Control, and I help people heal from spiritually manipulative relationships and groups. And one of the most common and confusing tools of control that I see in spiritual spaces are variations of the phrase, God told me to, or I received a download for you. It might show up in a relationship, in a church, from a mentor or a spiritual leader. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's loud, but the impact is the same. You feel confused, pressured, afraid to disagree, or you question your own intuition. So in this video, we're going to break down the red flags of spiritual manipulation, specifically through phrases like God or the universe told me. This way, you can start recognizing within yourself what's real guidance and what's actually control dressed up in spiritual language. Before we dive into the red flags, let's look at how this kind of language actually shows up. It's not always just God told me to or the universe told me. It can sound like God told me to tell you this. God told me I need to do this, or that you're supposed to do this. You need to listen. This is from the Lord. Or in New Age spaces, it can sound like Spirit gave me a download. I channeled this message for you. You're not in alignment with the universe or with energy if you do that. And sometimes it's not even said out loud. It's just implied, but the spiritual weight of it can hit you like a wall. And the result is the same. It puts you in a position where someone else is speaking on behalf of God about your decisions, your actions, and your life. And even if you think it's shared with sincerity, that kind of statement can carry a heavy spiritual pressure, especially if you've been taught that questioning or doubting spiritual authority means questioning or doubting God. That's what can make it so confusing, but that's also why it makes it so powerful. And that's why we really need to talk about the red flags. So why is this so manipulative? Why do phrases like God told me feel so heavy and disorienting? Even if they claim to be said with good intentions. Let's name it clearly. First off, it's unfalsifiable. You can't argue with God said so. There's no way to prove that it happened or that it didn't happen. Also, it bypasses consent. You're not part of a conversation. You're handed a conclusion. You're expected to accept, obey, or stay silent. Additionally, it gives divine authority to a human agenda. Their opinion becomes a spiritual mandate. They're no longer making a suggestion. They're speaking for God as if it is the truth. It can also create fear, urgency, and guilt. You feel pressured to comply, afraid to question, and ashamed if you don't listen or follow what they say or submit. It takes the space where spiritual connection should bring peace, and it replaces it with spiritual confusion, anxiety, shame, or obligation. And when that happens, when fear replaces freedom and pressure replaces peace, it doesn't just affect what you do. It starts to affect how you feel. So now let's dive into the internal red flags, the signs in your body, your heart, and spirit that something just isn't right. Red flag number 1, can you question it? Or are you made to feel like disagreeing with them means you're disagreeing with God? Healthy spiritual guidance invites conversation. If questioning the message is treated as rebellion, disrespect, or spiritual danger, that is a huge red flag. You're not allowed to be curious. You're just expected to accept, no matter how it lands in your heart. There's no space for curiosity, nuance, or conversation, only compliance. Red flag number 2, do you feel guilted, pressured, or rushed? Is there urgency with no space for how you feel or what you need? Real spiritual wisdom gives you room to reflect and process. Manipulation, on the other hand, pushes for immediacy, and it doesn't care how you feel, what you need, or where your heart is at. If someone claims urgency because God said so and ignores your voice in the process, they're prioritizing control, not connection. Red flag number 3, are you starting to doubt your own discernment? Do you feel confused about whether you can even trust your inner sense of intuition, guidance, or God anymore? When someone repeatedly speaks with divine certainty, it can erode your ability to trust yourself. So if you find yourself constantly second-guessing your own connection to yourself, to God, to your intuition, or your values, take that really seriously. Manipulation often works by destabilizing and cutting down your own inner knowing. Red flag number 4. Are you afraid to say no? Do you feel like you have to follow what they say? Otherwise, it might lead to punishment, rejection, they might leave you, or any kind of spiritual consequences. Are you afraid to set a boundary? When you are feeling fear, that is a red flag. If you feel like saying no is going to result in shame, exclusion, gossip, or any kind of rejection, spiritually or otherwise, you're not being guided. You're most likely being coerced. Spiritual connection should never cost you your ability to choose freely. Red flag number 5. Do you feel spiritually less than or just confused? Are they always sure while you're left second guessing yourself? People who misuse spiritual language often sound ultra confident. They present themselves as having a direct line to God or source, while you're left feeling inadequate or disconnected. Over time, this can make you feel dependent on their voice to hear God at all. And once that happens, they hold the power. They hold the control. Red flag number 6. Is there room for feedback or dialogue? Or is it, God told me that, and that's the end of the conversation and the decision? Genuine spiritual leadership invites discussion, questions, and mutual discernment. When someone says, God told me, and treats it as the final word with no openness to your insight, they're positioning themselves above dialogue, above conversation, and above yourself. That's not relationship. That's control. Red flag number 7. Are you being labeled as rebellious, resistant, or deceived? Is your hesitation being spiritualized as disobedience or something negative? If you express concern or uncertainty and you're told that you're being deceived or you're resisting the Holy Spirit or you're being influenced by darkness or under attack by entities, be cautious. This tactic turns your healthy self-awareness into a supposed spiritual flaw. It flips the script so you become the problem instead of the situation being questioned. Red flag number 8. Do you feel like your feelings, needs, and perspective are being heard and taken seriously? Or are you being told to follow God's guidance and stop questioning? Again, in healthy spiritual spaces, your voice matters. Mutual respect, empathy, and consent are signs of true leadership. True spirituality, like true kindness, cares about and honors another person's feelings and needs. But if you're being asked to submit or follow while your emotions, concerns, or questions are being dismissed, that, again, is not spiritual guidance. That's control disguised as obedience. Red flag number 9. Do you feel trapped? Like it's either obey them or disobey God? Are they placing themselves as a spiritual gatekeeper? When someone implies that obedience to them equals obedience to God, they're putting themselves in a position that no human belongs. That's not guidance. That's spiritual positioning. You should never feel like honoring your own feelings, intuition, needs, or boundaries means betraying God. Red flag number 10. Are you scared of what might happen if you don't comply? Is your yes coming from freedom or coming from fear? Fear-based obedience is not the same as faith. If you're saying yes to just avoid guilt, shame, rejection, or spiritual backlash, you're not choosing. You are surviving. So the key here is it's not just that someone said, God told me. It's how it makes you feel. If it overrides your feelings, your needs, or your freedom to choose, it is definitely a red flag to be aware of. So if you've recognized any of these red flags, what can you actually do about it? Let's talk about how to begin reclaiming your voice, your boundaries, and your inner clarity. When someone uses spiritual language to override your truth, you don't need to fight or over-explain, but you do need tools to come back to yourself. So here's how you can do this. Step number 1, give yourself permission to slow down. You don't have to respond right away if someone says, God told me that you have to do this, or this is the way, especially when something feels off. Just pause, give yourself space by giving a reply such as, let me sit with that. I need time to pray on it, meditate, or process before I can respond. Slowing down protects you from being pulled into somebody else's urgency, energy, or authority. Because clarity comes with space, not pressure. Step 2, check in with yourself. Pause before reacting. Ask yourself, how do I feel? Do I feel good? Do I feel safe, free, respected? Or do I feel afraid, confused, or small, or that something's off? If it's hard to name what you're feeling or you would like deeper emotional clarity, make sure you use my free feelings and needs cheat sheet linked in the description below. That will help you name what's going on inside and connect with your emotional truth. Step 3, name how you feel. Once you've paused to check in with yourself, practice simply saying, you know what? After hearing that, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling confused. I'm feeling hesitant. You don't need to explain why or over explain it or justify it. Just name your feeling and then pause and watch how they respond. Their response is going to tell you everything. Do they slow down? Do they get curious? Do they make space for you? Do they listen deeply to you? Do they care about how you are feeling? Or do they dismiss it, minimize it, or try to push you or convince you? If someone can't hold space for your feelings, that is a massive red flag. So if you notice any of these red flags, or if somebody is trying to get you to follow what God or the universe supposedly told them to tell you, and if you suspect that that message is being used possibly to coerce or control you in any kind of way, if they're trying to silence you or override your truth, you don't have to listen to that. You are allowed to slow down. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to disagree or say no. And you're allowed to trust what you feel, even if it doesn't match what someone else claims as divine. Because your connection to spirit, to God, the truth, whatever you want to call it, is not dependent on someone else's approval. And your boundaries do not make you rebellious. They make you self-respecting and wise. So if this video was helpful, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment or question below. I'd love to hear what resonated or what you're still sitting with. And if you want support untangling spiritual manipulation or rebuilding trust in yourself and speaking your feelings and needs, check out my free resources below or book a free one-on-one consultation to work with me personally. But please know you're not crazy, you're not overreacting, and you're not alone. Healing your relationship with faith, boundaries, and your own voice is possible. I'm so glad that you're here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.